In this lecture, we are going to join our newly created Windows 10 VM to our itflea.com domain. The first thing we will need to do is manually configure our TCP/IP settings so we can communicate with our domain controller, and then we can rename the computer and join it to our domain. We will also switch over to our domain controller and see where our new computer was automatically placed in Active Directory. In order to complete this lecture, we will need our domain controller to be running in the background so we can join our new Windows 10 VM to the domain. Open your Windows 10 VM, and if you still have the VirtualBox Guest Edition CD image mounted, we can unmount it by selecting Devices, Optical Drives, Remove Disk from Optical Drive. Now we need to log in to the VM. Press Right Control plus Delete and type in your user credentials that you created when you installed the operating system. Once you've logged in and Windows is fully loaded, what we need to do is configure our TCP/IP settings so that we're on the same network as our domain controller. Click the Start button and search for Network. Click the Network and Sharing Center when it appears. Select the Ethernet to text on the right-hand side of the screen. Choose the Properties button. Uncheck IP version 6 since we're not going to be using this Internet protocol, and select IP version 4 and choose Properties. Select the Use the following IP address checkbox, and for the IP address, enter 192.168.0.50. We could use any unused IP address ending with 2 through 254, but I'm going to use .50. Press the Tab key and the subnet mask will automatically be populated at 255.255.255.0, which is correct. Now under the default gateway, enter 192.168.0.1, which is the same address as our host-only network that we created in VirtualBox for our domain controller. For our preferred DNS server, we want to enter the IP address of our domain controller, which is 192.168.0.10. Click OK and close out of the IP version 4 properties and Ethernet to status windows. Now we want to verify that we can communicate with our DC by attempting to ping it. A ping command sends a message to a target computer and asks for a response. If we get a response, we know that we can communicate with the target computer. To ping a computer, we need to open Command Prompt. Press the Start button and type in CMD in the search box. You will see the command prompt show up in the search results. Start Command Prompt and enter the command ping 192.168.0.10. Press Enter, and we can see that we're getting responses back from our domain controller. Now that we know that we are able to communicate with the DC, we need to rename this computer and join it to our Windows domain. Press the Windows button again and search for System. Click the Control Panel System that appears in the search results. You will see a section called Computer Name, Domain, and Workgroup Settings. Click the Change Settings text to the right of this. The System Properties window will appear. Click the Change button in the middle of the screen. Enter a computer name, and I'm going to use ITFWS001 for itflea Workstation 001. Check the Domain checkbox and enter the name of the domain you want to join. In my case, it's itflea.com. Click OK. Now we will be prompted to enter our domain administrative credentials so we can join the computer to the domain. We can use the administrator account we used to create our domain controller. Enter the username administrator and use the password you used when creating the domain controller VM. Click OK. In a moment, you will see the Welcome to the itflea.com domain message appear. Click OK, and then you'll be notified that you must restart your computer. Click OK again and close the computer settings window. Now you'll either be asked to restart the computer now or do it later. Click Restart Now. Now, while the computer is rebooting, let's switch over to our domain controller. If you're in full screen mode on the Windows 10 VM, press right Control and F to exit full screen mode, minimize the VM window, and switch over to your domain controller. Log into your domain controller, and once Windows fully loads, open Server Manager and select Tools, Active Directory, Users, and Computers. Expand the itflea.com domain and select the Computers OU. Notice we can see our workstation has been added to the built-in OU called Computers. This is the default location for all new computers that are joined to a Windows domain. They all are placed into the Computers OU by default. Now our Windows 10 workstation is on the same network as our domain controller, and we have successfully joined it to the Windows domain that we created earlier. Great job getting this done, and I will see you in the next lecture.